Not having debt for the first time in my life, I just remember this huge weight. Like I didn't realize how much it was almost like there was somebody sitting on my chest, a huge elephant on my chest for years that I didn't realize was sitting on my chest until I paid that debt off. But before, it's like if it didn't work, I didn't have a fallback. Like, what was I gonna do? So everything I did, I had to be so thoughtful about every decision. There wasn't just throwing things up against the wall to see what stuck. I mean, if something didn't stuck, that could bankrupt me.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to How She Does It, where we sit down with incredible women and we ask them how they do it. I'm Karen Feinerman. I'm a long-term Wall Street investor, a mom of four, and a panelist on CNBC's Fast Money. So, who doesn't love a little bit of bling? And if you've been to a mall recently, you've likely seen, or maybe even shopped in, one of the nearly 170 Kendra Scott jewelry stores across the country. Launched in 2002 with just $500, founder Kendra Scott started making necklaces and earrings out of her spare bedroom in Austin, Texas. Just 14 years later, her namesake brand received a valuation of $1 billion. During a recent visit to New York City, Kendra and I chatted about how passion and determination fueled her success despite leaving college after one semester, and how finding love again with superstar Zac Brown caught her by surprise. This was a really fun conversation. Hope you enjoy. Kendra Scott,
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here. We're really excited to have you and How She Does It. You are the example of how she does it.
Oh, thank you so much, Karen. I'm so thrilled to be here with you. This is awesome.
So I want to jump right in and get started with your fascinating story. So you launched your brand in 2002, and you gave your company your name, Kendra Scott. It's a confident decision.
Well, let me tell you,
businesswoman.
I joke about that because when I started in 2002, I was in my extra bedroom in my house, and I made a business card that was my name, Kendra Scott, jewelry designer. So I wasn't thinking I was building $1 billion empire back then. It was just, I was the person, and people just started referring it as Kendra Scott Jewelry. And I was like, well, that kind of has stuck now. I can't really name it anything else. So it was almost by accident that it happened.
So it worked out for the best.
It worked out. It did.
So is it true that you tried to get outside funding early on and you couldn't?
Yes.
And so what were the reasons they gave you?
Well, I was in Austin, Texas, and at that time in 2002, it was very much the tech boom, and we were referred as Silicon Hills instead of Silicon Valley, Austin. So if you weren't a tech startup, really venture capital funds or angel investors really just didn't have any interest. And then being in fashion out of Texas, a lot of people just didn't get it. They kept thinking, oh, well, you have to be on the coasts to do this. So there was just so many doors that kind of slammed, and I remember going to one of my mentors, and I was like, what am I going to do? How do I get attention to get funding? And he said, build the best business you can build. Keep your head down and reinvest every dollar you can, make it count. And when you build the right business, they will come. And I did that for 10 years, and I bootstrapped it on a line of credit, did it all on debt, credit card debt, and being a single mom during that time. So it was very hard. There was a lot of sleepless nights, you can imagine, but it also taught me how to be a very scrappy entrepreneur. And I think in a way was a really great blessing, because when I did get funding 10 years into the business, it was one of my mentors who first believed in me and gave me that first funding. And then a year after, we brought in a private equity firm for a small portion, but it also helped me retain a lot of equity. So I still am a majority shareholder. I own over 60% of the company. And I love that because it is my name. And it's really important to me that the trajectory of this brand and business stay true to the core of what I want it to be long term.
So you had mentors. Did you have anybody that wasn't a mentor, but you saw them in business and thought, oh, that's who I want to be or how I want to
Yeah, I think this is really good for entrepreneurs to hear, because when you don't have a formal board, right, you don't have investors, you don't have the cadence of having formal board meetings or doing some of those disciplines that I think are really important for a founder or young business owner to have. So what I did is I formed an advisory board, and I went out to a few entrepreneurs that I really respected and admired how they ran their businesses, how they conducted themselves in the community. And I said, would you be on my advisory board? And I'll give you an earned in equity position if you'll commit to 4 years. So that advisory board really helped me build the foundation I needed to help me look at the deals that were in front of me and that had experience doing deals of their own that could really evaluate this for me, because this was uncharted territory I was walking into.
Do you recall any time where that board of advisors really helped you see something differently than you were seeing it before?
There's so many times. I mean, I think the way that I am is I'm super curious and I'm a sponge. I want to learn something new every single day. So from them, I was always wanting to listen more than talk. I'd tell them all the time, like, I'm not afraid of criticism. I want you to come in here and pull apart my P&L. I want you to tell me where you're seeing things, maybe where I'm spending too much or I'm not thinking about. And one of the biggest things is they said, Kendra, you're running out of stock on your most popular items. You're just leaving so much money on the table. You've got to invest in some more inventory on your key SKUs. And it was scary because that's a big commitment to order that much more, and you're holding inventory. And when it's your money, you don't have anybody else's money and you're doing it on a line of credit. But that was great advice because those signature products really were selling out so quickly. And this gave us opportunity to really build a signature collection. So that's one of, probably thousands of examples where they just really helped me think about things as I was growing the business.
So it's fascinating to me. So you had no formal training in finance, accounting, management, marketing, any of that. And so was it just innate to you? It's just
I constantly was reading books. Like I said, I had so many mentors. So I was always asking questions, always wanting to learn. And then in 2006, I got into a program through Entrepreneurs Organization. It was an entrepreneurial master's program that they did through MIT. And they brought in 65 entrepreneurs from around the world. And it was a 3-year program. You'd go in for like a week, a year, but you had a lot of work to do kind of throughout the year and learning from some of the brightest entrepreneurs on the planet. And it was just a crash course in the entrepreneurial mindset. And 2006 to 2009 also was the Great Recession. So many businesses were really struggling, mine included. But being with that group really helped me think about what I needed to build in a team, what I was lacking, and it gave me this ability to really build the foundation I needed to be able to take this company to the next level. You look at Kendra Scott, I finished that in 2009, 2010 to 2017 was like explosive growth for the business. And I contribute a lot of that to having that knowledge from that, course that I took. So education is key. I mean, I am a college dropout. Today, I have a school at the University of Texas, the Kendra Scott Women's and Entrepreneurial Leadership Institute. I'm a professor. I teach entrepreneurship. So I always tell people, how you get your education may all not be the same. Mine was different. But it's still so important to always have that appetite to learn.
I've heard you talk about that 2007 and 8 period as very difficult, but also game-changing for your business. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I was strictly wholesale. So I was just selling to department stores and other boutiques, not selling direct to consumer. And the Great Recession came and I realized that all my eggs were in these other baskets where I had no control. The power of having that interaction direct to my customer, I had given to everybody else. That forced me to realize how I was doing business wasn't going to be sustainable. That the most important person I needed to talk to, my customer, I needed to do direct. And so we opened our first retail store. We created our e-commerce website with a customization tool called Color Bar where you could design your jewelry online. And we really put all of our efforts into that direct-to-consumer experience. Still, of course, loving and working with our wholesale partners. So I say all the time, like the recession actually was the greatest gift Kendra Scott, the brand, ever got. You can be comfortable and you can be like, okay, we're growing, we're not growing too fast. But something major like that or the pandemic happens, right? And it forces you, I call them shake the snow globe moments. It shakes everything up. And for me, when I look in the rearview mirror of my business, every time that's happened, the business has gone to a bigger place, a better place, because it forced us to rethink what we were doing.
So the customer experience, right? That seems like it is central to
everything.
What are you trying to achieve with the customer experience?
Connection. It's really simple. Connection. Brands are so transactional today. A lot of brands are built completely digital today. They don't have human touch. And at Kendra Scott, we believe that we are about family first. We believe that our 4 walls of brick and mortar are so important for community, whether that's through Kendra Gives Back events that we're hosting in our store or celebrating someone's birthday at our Color Bar. Having that human connection where a customer can connect with our brand in a real, authentic way creates customers and customer advocates for life. And I think so many brands are missing that. I tell my retail team all the time, I don't care if somebody leaves with a yellow bag. People are like, what? I just care that they leave happier than when they walked in. If we give them an experience that brings them joy, that they will share then with their friends, their family, they may go on later in their bed after they put their kids down and order something online. But we create an experience that brings them joy. We've succeeded. You've succeeded in the sale.
So is there some mantra or something you tell everyone who works at your store? What is the connection about?
Yes.
You have to figure out each person's
Well, I
connection.
mean, every day I say, we have to figure out how are we going to surprise and delight our customer today? What things are we going to do in stores? Fun activations, bringing in community members, whether it's dog rescue nonprofits. We may have puppies in our store one day. We're always serving cupcakes and champagne, and we're creating an event every day. We're celebrating life. We're celebrating something. We hire people that have just overflowing with optimism. I don't care if you have any retail experience. Quite honestly, I sometimes prefer if you don't, because I have to reteach a lot of things. I want to hire people that I don't want to stop talking to. Walk into our stores and you just feel that warmth and that warm hug. And it makes the job really easy because we're just asking them to be kind and give these people an amazing experience and let them have fun in our store and try things on and enjoy themselves. And we're not worried about whether or not we transact. We know that if we make true connections, that happens. And we've seen that. I mean, why we're doing what we're doing here almost 24 years in.
Isn't that amazing?
Crazy.
That it's 24 years in?
My son was a baby when I started this, and he's turning 24 on 11/11. And I just look at him, he's 6'2", and I just think, how in the world, Cade, we went from going to boutique with a tea box, and here we are today celebrating your 24th birthday, and my business is, going to be 24 years as well. It's mind-boggling. It happens so fast, Karen.
Do you still have the tea box?
We do.
Okay, good.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
We do.
Okay, so in 2021, you handed the CEO reins over to someone else, and you took the role of executive chair. So you're focusing on design, customer experience, and philanthropy. Now you're back as interim CEO.
Yeah.
What's your plan now?
We're taking it day by day. I've always been connected. I think as an executive chairwoman, I was different. As majority shareholder and founder, it's a little different too, because it's my name. So anything that the customer sees, touches, tastes, experiences, I'm going to see and look at. So even though I was chairwoman, I was really engaged and involved day to day in the business. And so really not a lot has changed being back right now in the CEO seat, because I am so involved with our teams, and that's never stopped. I think we've got such great people. I have the best team, and we're taking it day by day, but our company right now is in such a great place. Morale's at an all-time high. Everyone is so excited about where we're headed, and we're enjoying where we are right now.
So let me just go back to your backstory of how you came to be a retail person.
Yeah.
Which is an amazing story.
When I was 16, I moved to Texas with my mom and my stepfather, and he was diagnosed with brain cancer. Incredible man. He served 2 tours in Vietnam. He spoke 5 languages fluently. Just he'd walk in a room and just radiate, just the smile, and everything about him was just phenomenal. And I was so glad that I had that time with him, because he told me, honey, you've got to use the gifts you were given in this life to make a positive impact. And you have such a short time on this earth, and I want you to make it count. And, having that time with him was so precious. And I remember, I loved fashion and design since I was a little girl, and there just weren't great headwear options. And especially for women, my mom and I would meet so many women at MD Anderson while my stepfather was getting treatment. And so I went back home and I sewed some cotton linings in some of the hats that I had and brought them up to MD Anderson and gifted them to some of the women. And I just saw how it made them feel so good, and they felt confident and they felt beautiful. And that just gave me this spark to want to get into the hat business. And so dropped out of college at 19 to pursue this dream of everyone wearing hats again like it was 1940. And that didn't happen, Karen. But 5 years I ran that business, and I was selling every kind of hat, to be clear, not just headwear for men and women undergoing chemotherapy, but I was also making jewelry. And the jewelry was sitting on my little counter, and it would sell out the day that I had it. When I had to close my hat store because I wasn't selling enough hats to manage the business, and it was so sad, right? People were still calling me for the jewelry after I had closed the hat store. And I had to go get a job, but I was working at a magazine and doing my jewelry kind of as a side hustle after I closed my first business. But I'm so thankful, just like the Shake the Snow Globe thing we talked about with the recession. If I hadn't had that retail experience with that little hat store, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today. I mean, it was my unbelievable education. It was a master degree in the School of Hard Knocks, learning there's so many things I did right, but there were so many things I did wrong. And all of those lessons I was able to really take when I started to think about building again and trying again to do business with Kendra Scott, that I was able to use those tools and really build something that all those lessons gave me.
So I know it was disappointing for you.
Very.
And I mean, you couldn't have imagined what the next.
No, I mean, I
big
remember
chapter
when
would
I
be.
closed the hat box and just how I had lost my stepfather at that point. The brain cancer had taken his life and I dropped out of school. And so to talk about being at an all-time low, I mean, the person I had started the business for had passed. All my friends had now graduated from college and I didn't have a degree. I had put the last 5 years of my life into this little store that I had to close. And it was just one of the lowest points of my life. And, I went and I remember getting a job and just really feeling super discouraged. And having these customers still call for the jewelry, it was amazing. But at the same time, I was like, should I try to do this again? And I was working for a travel magazine, which was making me travel, and I had gotten married and I was pregnant with our first son, and traveling all over the world for this magazine wasn't really realistic. So I thought, well, maybe I should try to think maybe this jewelry, maybe there's something to this. So created a little collection while I was pregnant with Cade, but very quietly started this business. I wasn't out there promoting it because I thought people would laugh at me, really, and that they would be like, oh, she's got a failed business. Oh, here she goes again. So quietly starting, and the same thing with the name. I mean, I wasn't thinking Kendra Scott, the brand. I was just Kendra Scott, the human, selling jewelry. And each sale led to another one. And I would be in those stores doing trunk shows and making sure the product was successful. If product wasn't working, I was going to switch it out for them. And so my stores were, that were selling the product were having unbelievable success. And one store led to another. It led to me getting a showroom here in New York with a rep. I had a rep in Dallas as well. And the business really just grew out of this bedroom. I mean, my first Nordstrom order, we shipped off of my dining room table. Nordstrom had no idea how little I still was. But we picked and packed that order on my dining room table, and UPS picked it up on my front doorstep.
If only they knew.
If only they, well, they know now. Pete Nordstrom knows, and he thinks it's a great story.
So when you were a little kid, what did you imagine grown-up Kendra would be?
Well, it's so funny because my aunt was a fashion director for a little department store in Wisconsin called Gimbel's. Oh. And this was in the 1980s.
Is the same Gimbel's in New York?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
All
and
right.
so Gimbel's, I think, got bought by Boston Store. And it went through a lot of iterations. But she was fashion director. So she would go to all the shows in Paris and Milan and everywhere. And she'd come back to Wisconsin and we would literally, she'd show me the slides from, she was taking on our little camera of the Donna Karan show or the Oscar de la Renta show. And she would sit there with me, and I'm 7 years old, and she would show me how to trend forecast. What do you keep seeing repeating itself in all these shows? And I'd be like, shoulder pads and, whatever it was in the 1980s. And I just remember going in her closet and putting on her clothes and her jewelry and her heels and all the things and just feeling like I could be anybody in the world. Fashion was magic. It was transformational. It gave you this confidence. And I just knew from that young age I wanted to be in fashion and design. I didn't know what it was exactly, but I knew that's what I wanted to do. And if that wasn't going to work, I wanted to be on Broadway. So that was my
okay.
And I can't sing. That was my backup, so that wasn't going to work out. So thankfully, the fashion thing worked out.
So, all right, we'll get to Shark Tank. But
yes.
Before that, I want to, how do you make your life work?
Yeah.
Right? You have 3 kids.
Yes.
Yes. You are engaged to Zach Brown.
I am.
He has 5 kids.
Yes. We have 8 together, 4 girls, 4 boys. It's incredible.
So you're a big successful person. He's a big successful person. You got a lot going on. Literally, how do you do it? How do you make your life work?
Well, first of all, we have some great people around us that help us make our life work. So you have to have a team of great people who, we're having a lot of communication all the time because we're 2 comets, but we're going in the same direction. And we really are simple people at our core. We both put our family first. Our kids are just everything to both of us. And so really carving out time around where are the things that we know we need to be at, and then coordinating our schedules. If he's going to be in New York for something, I can do some work there, or if we're really working together on how do we consolidate our lives so that we can spend the most amount of time together and the most amount of time with our children together. And so far, we've been making it work, and we're go-getters. Like, we're used to it, this kind of crazy, chaotic schedule, so to speak. But we really, I mean, when we are home, we're at home. I mean, we're watching TV with the kids and cooking dinner at home together, and just having that really quiet, peaceful time is important for both of us to have the balance to be able to then recharge and go out and try to tackle the world.
And do you sort of strategize with each other about your business, your career?
Oh, I mean, it's so nice because we're both artists in our own way, doing different types of art. But our mission and the thing that we think about all the time, and he has a camp for kids that are on the spectrum, and he does a whole camp for veterans. So he's very philanthropic. My business is Fashion for Philanthropy. So we're so aligned in that we wanted to be able to use the gifts to make a bigger impact. And then with our children, too, it's like we have so many synergies around our priorities. And I think that's so important because we prioritize the same thing. And so when we start to think about our lives together, it's like, how do we make sure that we have that special time with our family, but still are doing the things that bring us joy and that bring others joy, because that's what really feeds us. And having that alignment makes it so easy, because who we are at our core is exactly the same.
So where do you think of as home? If I say home to you, what?
Well, Texas and Georgia.
Texas and Georgia.
So right now we split time between Texas and Georgia, but Texas is definitely, I mean, my heart and my home. Yeah.
So, but when you're together and all the kids are together, that's Georgia more likely, or?
No, it's both. Oh yeah, they were just in Texas. They'll be coming to Texas for Thanksgiving week. So and then we travel together. We have, have a house in the Bahamas, and so we all go there together as a family, and we just love to be together, which is really nice. But yeah, we'll go both places. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Shark Tank.
Oh my gosh, what a season.
Well, there's so many things. How did you end up on Shark Tank?
So, gosh, my first year on Shark Tank was during COVID. And so we actually had to film in a bubble in the Venetian in Las Vegas. It was craziest time you've ever seen. To be on, this big television show and then being in this weird situation where we had to get and literally stay in our hotel rooms for 4 or 5 days. You couldn't leave until you were passed that you for sure didn't have COVID. They would do multiple tests.
How did they pick the Venetian in Las Vegas?
Because they could create a safe bubble where you couldn't leave.
All right.
Okay, so there wasn't
a little
outside
city.
It was a little city, and they were filming a lot of different shows were getting filmed there during that time because they could keep it protected. So that was my first season, and it was so exciting. It was amazing. So I remember walking in the set and going, first of all, I watched this show as a young entrepreneur, and I would learn things from watching the show. I love to watch entrepreneurs pitch. I love to hear the questions the sharks would ask, and then I would go back and try to research what they were asking and thinking about my own business. So to then be on this side of it as a shark and to see these entrepreneurs walk in, it's just, wow, talk about a 360 whole whoa moment. It's really exciting. And I just love being on set there. I feel so at home, and it's my happy place to be around amazing entrepreneurs.
Pete Davidson.
Yeah. I mean,
that was a very funny episode.
And I was just like, when you recognize somebody, but you're like, where do I know this person from? It was kind of one of those moments. I mean, because you weren't.
So you literally didn't know.
We never know.
Okay.
We don't know anything. We don't know what businesses are going to come into the tank. We know nothing about them. We know nothing. When we are seeing it for the first time, it is the very first time. We don't have any background. So he walked in, and I'm like, wait a minute. And then I'm like, that's Pete Davidson. It was just one of those shock moments. But he's amazing. And the couple that started Double Soul sent him socks. And that's how he got to become an investor and a partner with them, is because he wore the socks and was like, this is the best sock. So he really fell in love with the product and has been just a huge support for the couple that started it. And I just loved the product, and I love the entrepreneurs. I loved their passion, and it really was the most comfortable sock I've ever put on. So I was like, greatest product, and it's been really fun to work with them.
We're back with Kendra. So you were just telling me you feel this sense of urgency.
Yeah, I think you start to realize when I turned 50, I was like, oh my gosh, half of my life, I hope half my life. My grandmother lived to 105, so I'm shooting for that, but is over. And I just feel like I have so many things I want to do, so many things I still want to accomplish. And now you're thinking about legacy, right? You're starting to think about how can I do things that leave things for my children, my grandchildren, that next generation. And so starting the Women's Entrepreneurial Leadership Institute was one of those things where I felt like I want women of every background, whether you're an artist or going to the School of Education or you're in engineering, to learn the entrepreneurial mindset. Because if you have those tools like I learned in 2006 to 2009, going to the Entrepreneurial Master's Program at MIT was such a gift. And I wanted to give that opportunity to other women.
So you have a principle, Radical Kendra.
Yes.
That's an important principle to you. Can you tell us about that?
Well, I'd say to my team, we just had a leadership offsite, and I think it's so important for companies to constantly be connecting with their teams. But sometimes when you build a brand and you're bringing people in, especially when you're the face and it's your namesake, people want to be pleasers, and they don't want to tell you the hard stuff. And Radical Kendra is, I want you to tell me the hard stuff, even if it's ugly, even if it sucks, because if we're not being honest and transparent with you, we can't get anywhere. We're not really able to solve any problems because you're afraid to bring a problem. I don't want you to ever have fear. And so having a leadership structure where your folks are afraid to tell you the truth and be honest with you can be really detrimental to your business. So Radical Kendra is bring me all the things, whether it's pretty, I love the great stuff, that's great, but I want real. I want real and honest and truthful conversations and full transparency. We can solve problems together when we have that, and we have that trust that it's okay. Even if it's bad, I want to know the truth. And I tell it to my kids the same way. Like, it's the same thing with my boys. It's like, look, guys, it's when things are hard, I want you to be able to come to me. And yeah, I might not be thrilled or happy, but we can figure things out if we're honest with one another.
So can you think of something that you, during the Radical Kendra process, that you were like, wow, ouch, that one hurt, but it's helpful?
You know, there's been so many times, I learned this from something Jeff Bezos said, is he goes, I'm the last person in the room to talk. And I loved hearing that, because I really took that to heart, because sometimes when I'll say something, I may have an opinion or a thought. It could change somebody who may have a really great idea in their pocket that they were going to share, but then they're like, oh, well, because she said this, now I'm afraid to say it. And I really loved hearing that from Jeff. So I've really taken that tone of, let me sit back. I want to get all their feedback. I want to hear everything so that I can then go, you know what? I didn't think of it like that. There may be a way that I thought of it coming into this meeting, but because of how you presented this or what you just shared with me or information that I may not have known about, that changed my perspective. And I'm so grateful that we're able to have that dialogue. So part of it is really being a leader that can listen, and then a leader that really opens that collaboration and welcomes it. And that isn't afraid when somebody says, Kendra, I love that, but have you thought, what if we thought about it like this? And when I see that kind of bravery and courage in, a team member, I right away am like, thank you. Thank you for being courageous enough to say that part of your idea, Kendra, sucked. They may not say it like that.
But you get the gist.
But we get the gist. And I appreciate that so much. And I think the more then they see that type of thing is rewarded, right, and really celebrated within the organization, it gives everybody that freedom to be more candid.
I think a leader that says, you know what, I changed my mind.
Yeah, several times. And there's been things like, I remember one product, this is more of a product thing, but neon. It was neon. And I was like, I just didn't understand neon because I lived in the 80s. Okay. So I was like, we had gone through this era. But, like everything in life, things come back. And I've got younger folks on my team that are like, neon is the trend, Kendra. We've got to do it. And I said, you know what? I trust y'all. Like, I may not get it, but that doesn't mean our customer doesn't get it. That neon collection blew out, okay? They were right. And I loved coming in and going, high-fiving them and going, you guys were absolutely right. I was wrong about this one. There's so many times, and I remind them of that. I go, there's so many times I thought X, Y, or Z, and it didn't turn out that way. And you all had a really clear vision of what you thought it was. So many times, even if I'm not 100% sure, you have to trust the people that you hire that, are experts in certain areas, and give them the ability to do what they do best.
So where do you think about where the business might be in 5 years?
Oh my gosh. I feel like right now it's the night before Christmas. Like, I've never been more excited about this business than I am today, which is really fun. We've built a connection with our customer for almost 24 years. And we have now permission to think about going into other categories where we can really bring that jewelry designer's perspective. I say instead of red thread, we say the yellow thread, how we can tie the yellow thread through other products and other things that we could give her in a really special, unique way. We recently launched eyewear and sunglasses, and we have some of our stones and our custom shapes, reflected in the beautiful materials that look like natural stone. And it's so Kendra Scott, but it was done in our way for eyewear in an attainable, beautiful price point that's still aspirational but affordable. So all those elements kind of have to check the box as we think about moving forward. We haven't even gone international yet. We're just here in the United States. So in 5 years, I see Kendra Scott growing on an international level, dipping our toe in international waters. We just launched a new brand called Yellow Rose by Kendra Scott, which celebrates my love of Texas. And that brand is expanding. It's everything from boot to brim, from the hat to the boots. We just launched a boot line that I worked 2 years on to make the perfect cowboy boot. So we've just doing so many exciting things, and I'm more excited than I've ever been. And I jump out of bed in the morning. And then Kendra Scott Foundation, all the things we're doing on the foundation side of the business, that's our purpose. It's our North Star. And the bigger we've grown as a company, the more we've been able to give back. And I think for all of us, that's what motivates us to keep going every day and to keep growing like we are.
Do you ever get tired?
I mean, I'm excited. I feel so lucky to be alive. Trying to get emotional. My stepfather died when he was 47. I lost one of my best friends to breast cancer in 2016. And every day that I wake up and I have breath in my lungs is a gift. And I feel like we have such a short time on this earth, and I want to make it count. I want to wake up every day and try to figure out how can I leave a positive mark with what I can do, right? And so the energy is, I think, there because I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for this life, and I'm grateful for the people around me, and I just want to soak it all in every single day.
What do your kids think of their mom?
I love my boys so much. My older boys, they've gone through so much with me because they were, baby. Literally, Cade was a baby. So they've grown up with this business, and I couldn't afford help. I was a single mom for much of their life. So I didn't have, a nanny. So I was taking them with me into the office. I had the pack and play in my design studio with them. When they would go to preschool, I would just work my tail off until I picked them up, and then I'd bring them back to the design studio with me. And I think they're really proud. They're proud because I've been there as a mom. I created a business that allowed me to be a mom first. And, we created a company that family comes first. And we have so many moms and dads that work at Kendra Scott. And I always tell them, you have to be there for your family first. And we've created an environment that supports that. We've got a kids' playroom in our office, and we've got mother's nursing rooms. So you can bring your baby up to nurse, or, we have mother's milk refrigerators that are just for our nursing moms, because that's what I needed. And family can be part of your business if you build it that way. And I was able to build Kendra Scott with my little boys right by my side. They're part of the business. And so I think they're proud. And, we are so close. My boys are my world. And we just have so much fun together. And they inspire me every day.
One thing I've heard that I think is so interesting is about your insistence that your kids have jobs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
tell us about that.
Work gives you pride. And, you don't want to, when you're given something, you don't appreciate it, right? They started working at the car wash down the street from the house, and they were washing everybody's cars. So the Scott boys are there washing all these cars for people. They'd come home covered in sweat and suds, but they were so proud of themselves because they had their own money to be able to get the things that they wanted. And if they wanted something, I was like, well, you can work for that. And, I remember my son, Cade, his first car when he was 16, I got him a Ford Fusion. And I said, when you graduate high school, I'm going to give you that car as your first asset. And he drove that Ford Fusion. He's still driving that Ford Fusion. And he's 24 years old. And I'm so proud of him because he was like, look, it's a great car. It's not having any problems, and it's paid off. Like, I don't have a car payment, and I can start saving my money and doing other things. So, I think being thoughtful about what you give them, but having them understand, okay, this is an asset. Now you get to figure out, you have options, what you're going to do with that, and teaching them what that can look like. And when you give them those tools of understanding finances and how to have a budget and really plan for their own life, is so invaluable to them. And they've always worked. I mean, my son right now Beck, the 21-year-old, is in college, but he has a food truck with his buddy. And so he's working his own food truck and going to school, and I'm just so proud of him.
Mm-hmm. Clearly, you've been very, very successful, right? You're a wealthy woman. And I've heard that you've told the kids, you're gonna have to make it on your own.
Yeah, I mean, I will be here as your biggest fan and your biggest cheerleader. I will be here to help you think things through and give you as much support as I can. But you've got to do this on your own, and you're going to be so proud of what you achieve when you do that on your own. And they want to do it on their own. I mean, they're so fiercely independent. I don't know if that comes from me or where that comes from, but they are. They want their own success on their own terms, and they're so motivated. And I love seeing that in them. And Cade right now has got a job where he wants to be an entrepreneur someday, but I'm like, baby, you need to get a job where you're learning from people in the industry that you want to be in and learn everything you can. And they're doing that. And so I'm just so proud to see how motivated they are. And you hope as a mom that your kids are going to turn out to be, all these things. And they're everything and more than I could have ever dreamt. I'm really proud of them.
I bet they're really proud of you. All right, let me ask you something. What did you do with the first big amount of money that you got?
So it took a while. I mean, I didn't get a huge amount of money. The first amount was in 2010 was my first investor, but I put all of that money into opening stores and just trying to pay off some of the debt that I had, which was a relief. And when I got the first big amount, I remember thinking, I won't have to worry about paying for my kids' school tuition anymore. Like things that I had always just kept me up in the middle of the night. The debt was big. Not having debt for the first time in my life, I just remember this huge weight. Like I didn't realize how much it was almost like there was somebody sitting on my chest, a huge elephant on my chest for years that I didn't realize was sitting on my chest until I paid that debt off. And when I didn't have that elephant, it was like, I could even be thinking about taking risks again. Like I felt like, okay, we could take a few more risks because we have the ability, we have some backing behind us to support us to think about how we could grow this business in a more exciting way. But before, it's like if it didn't work, I didn't have a fallback. Like, what was I going to do? So everything I did, I had to be so thoughtful about every decision. There wasn't just throwing things up against the wall to see what stuck. I mean, if something didn't stuck, that could bankrupt me, before. So just having a little bit of peace of mind, I can't even tell you what that felt like. It was just such a relief.
The absence of worry.
The absence of worry, yeah. I mean, and it wasn't like for me, I'm going to go out and buy this or buy that. It was more of just like, I can breathe.
Yes.
And I can provide for my family in a way now that they're going to have some security, that I could buy a house and not have to rent because I actually had some money that I could show in my bank account that was real without having all this debt. I had personally guaranteed everything, every loan, every lease at that point that we had signed. It
sounds stressful now, even knowing how it turned out.
I know. It was so stressful. So that was the biggest change of my life.
Must be sort of shocking to you that you made it through.
It is. When I look back, sometimes I go, how did I do it? Because I don't know if I could do it now, but it was survival too. I was in survival mode of like, this had to work, and just every day, just grinding at it. And thank God that it turned out the way it did. But there were many times, Karen, I didn't know if we would make it, that if we would make rent or if we would solve for this issue. Lots of peaks in the business, but a lot of valleys. And as an entrepreneur, getting through those valleys, I always say every time I did, and I realized, wow, I had to go through that. There are so many important things that we learned or about our customer, or whatever it might be, that led us to this higher peak.
So speaking of buying a house,
yes,
I know there's a story, you're in the backyard. And you hear your neighbors talking about you.
I heard my name, and they were in their back patio, and they were talking about how my ex-husband bought my house, but that didn't happen. My ex-husband didn't buy my house. I worked really hard to buy this house, and it really upset me because it was like, well, they didn't think a woman could just buy that house. And so I went over the hedges, and I said, hey, y'all, it's Kendra. I hear my name over there. And I said, I heard you guys talking about me. Oh, well, hey, Kendra. Hi, come on by. I go, okay, I will. I grabbed a bottle of wine, grabbed my dog, Duke, walked over around the block, walked through their front door, put the bottle of wine on the table outside, and I said, I heard you talking about me. Let me clear up number one. I bought this house 100% on my own. And there was a bunch of guys, and they just come from the golf course. And I was like, a woman can buy her own things, by the way. You have any other questions for me? I'm happy to answer them for you. And so it was a pretty shocking moment, but we've all my neighbors and we all get along really great now. And we laugh about that story now. But, sometimes you got to put people in their place. And I wasn't going to just let that slide. I think so many times women are underestimated. And clearly you see success and you try to put it off as something else or try to make another story around it. And blood, sweat, and tears getting this business going and working so hard for every single thing I have. I wasn't going to let that one slide.
Good for you. There's another thing that you've said that I thought was interesting, which is nobody tells Jeff Bezos to smile more.
Yeah. Women, we're put in a place where there's just so many expectations on us. Men very rarely get the question of work-life balance, yet we get it almost in every single interview I have. When they're fathers and they have children and all of those things, but it's women that are kind of get that responsibility. And I think there's a double standard, and I'm hoping that we can start to kind of change and shift some of those things. Mm-hmm. Just a few years ago, there were more CEOs named John than there were female CEOs.
In the Fortune 500?
No.
Yeah. Oh.
Anywhere. Like it was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's changed recently. Recently. But we've got a long way to go. And I think especially as women, we have a responsibility to root for one another and not tear each other down. When you see the success of one woman, I want you to cheer as loud as you can for her, because we're showing our daughters that too. Instead of, oh, she's lucky or this happened, or, we want to try to break women down for some reason when they're successful instead of lift them up. A success for one woman is a success for all of us. Mm-hmm. And I think it's so important that we lift each other up.
You're a great role model for that.
Thank you.
I got to ask you one other question.
Yes.
What is it like when you're walking down the street or in an airport or something like that and you see someone wearing your jewelry?
I always stop and tell them thank you. I still do.
Do they know it's you most?
Now they are more. I think with Shark Tank people, now they just thought I was like a crazy lady because I'd say, you look so beautiful in your Kendra Scott jewelry. And, I'd say, I work at the company. Thank you. Now I'll just sometimes just compliment them on their jewelry or thank them for wearing it. But anytime I see somebody wearing it, I am always just humbled by it. And it means so much to me. I think when you start like I did, and it has been so hard, you are so appreciative of every single customer. And I just want to say thank you every time I see it.
Okay, Kendra.
Okay.
We are back with the lightning round. So we have some fun questions for you. A few would you rather. And all I ask is you just give us the first thing that pops into your head. Don't think about it.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Would you rather a day at the ranch or a day at the beach?
Day at the ranch.
Longhorns or Cowboys?
Longhorns.
Okay. Dream role on Broadway?
Oh, any role. I mean, I would go for any role. Any role they would put me on. Anyone listening that will give me a walk-on role on Broadway, I will take it.
Okay. I wouldn't be shocked if that happens, actually. Okay. Chicken fried or Highway 20 ride?
Oh, shoot. Highway 20 ride.
Okay. Hearts or butterflies?
Butterflies.
Okay. Would you rather champagne and caviar or John's Pizza on Bleecker?
John's Pizza on Bleecker. I went when I landed here just a few days ago. Yes.
Oh, good.
First place I stopped.
Did they remember you?
They didn't, but that's okay. I remember them every time I have that pizza. It's so good.
All right. Would you rather do voice notes or Post-its?
Voice notes.
Would you rather Snoop Dogg or Gracie the dog?
Gracie. I love you, Snoop, but sorry. Gracie's my girl.
Okay. I thought that was going that way.
Yeah.
Highly likely. Okay. What's the best way for you to unwind?
Oh, I love being at home in the kitchen, cooking with my family. One of my sons is a great cook. Zach is a great cook. I'm like a good sous chef. They just boss me around and tell me what to chop. But that time for me is my favorite time when we're just all home together. We've got music on in the background. It's my favorite place to be.
Okay. Would you rather leggings or jeans?
Leggings.
Backgammon or chess?
Backgammon, 100%.
Okay. Sound of Music or 9 to 5?
Oh, Karen. 9 to 5.
Okay. It's got to be the Dolly Parton thing.
It's Dolly.
I know you have a collab.
We do. We have a new one coming out soon. They're all based around her songs. So every collection is inspired by one of her songs. And wow, talk about a dream to work with.
I would think that
she's a living angel on earth.
Yeah.
She is. I mean, there's just no way to say it different. She's unbelievable.
One of my favorite quotes of her, they said, do you mind being called a dumb blonde? And she said, no, because I'm not dumb and I'm not blonde.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's
oh,
genius.
gosh, she's the best.
Okay, would you rather green juice or green tea?
Green juice.
Okay. What have you changed your mind about in the last year?
What have I changed my mind about in the last year? Well, in the last year, I think I started thinking that maybe I would never find love again. And that changed this year, meeting Zach, and that it's never too late. And, to not give up hope of finding that love, that one true love. So that definitely was the one thing.
All right. Well, that is a great answer. Would you rather be moved or laugh uncontrollably?
Oh, gosh, laugh uncontrollably.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, so the last one is in two parts. What is the best investment you've ever made? And an investment could be anything. Could be a class, could be an investment, could be anything, time. And the worst investment you've ever made.
The best investment was making in myself, that I made in myself, that I believed in myself even when others didn't, and just kept pushing myself forward and believing in myself. The worst investment I've ever made was probably the hat box, just because, it obviously closed, but it was still the greatest gift of my life because it helped me learn. But from a financial perspective, the hat box probably wasn't the smartest thing I've ever done.
Turned out okay.
It turned out okay. It did.
I am so happy you came to spend time
Thank
with us
you.
here. Your story is an amazing one.
Thank you so much for having me. I love spending time with you today.